For years, I paid my parents' mortgage, covered their bills, and made sure they never struggled. Then I accidentally discovered their will, and what I found changed everything. My name is Daniel, and if I ever had doubts about where I stood in my family, they vanished the day I discovered the will. It wasn't a heartfelt sit-down conversation, no dramatic confession over dinner. No, I found out by accident. Pure, dumb luck. Before we dive into this intense story, we have a small favor to ask. Drop a comment below and tell us where you're watching from. It's always incredible to see how far our stories reach. Thank you so much. Now let's dive in. It happened a few months ago at my parents' house in Charleston, the same house I had been helping them pay for over the last 5 years. The mortgage, the repairs, even groceries. I was the one keeping things together while my younger brother, Lucas, did absolutely nothing. And when I say nothing, I mean it in the most literal sense. No job, no responsibilities, just a life of leisure, basking in the golden glow of our parents' unwavering favoritism. That day, my father had asked me to scan some documents for him. Financial papers, legal forms, things he and Mom never bothered to figure out on their own. I didn't think much of it until I saw it. A folder labeled Estate Plan and Last Will and Testament. It sat there, plain as day, right in the pile of papers I was supposed to process. I don't usually snoop, but after everything I'd done for them, keeping their house afloat, making sure they never went without, I had every right to know how things were set up for the future. So I opened it, and that's when my stomach dropped. Everything. Every dollar in their savings, the house, their investments, all of it was going to Lucas. My name appeared only once, buried in legal jargon that essentially boiled down to, we love both our sons equally. Right. Equally. That's why they had written me out of my own family's future while ensuring Lucas inherited everything. Lucas, who never lifted a finger, never contributed a dime, but had somehow convinced them he deserved it all. Maybe it was because he was the youngest. Maybe because he was good at playing helpless. Or maybe, just maybe, it was because they had never really seen me as their son. I sat there gripping the will so tightly my fingers turned white, my mind racing through years of sacrifices. The late-night bill payments, the emergency repairs, the times I skipped out on things I wanted so I could make sure they were secure. And for what? Nothing. I had no idea how long I had been sitting there when my father's voice broke through my daze. "Daniel, what's taking so long?" I didn't bother hiding the will. I held it up and met his eyes, my voice eerily calm. "So, this is how it is? Everything to Lucas?" His face went pale. He sighed like I was being ridiculous. "Daniel, it's not what you think." I nearly laughed. "Really? Because it looks pretty damn clear to me. I've been the one keeping this house from crumbling while Lucas does nothing, and you still decided he's the only one who matters." Dad's expression flickered between guilt and frustration before he muttered, "It's complicated." That was it. No justification, no apology, just a 2-word excuse, as if that settled everything, as if he expected me to accept it and go back to being their personal ATM. I wasn't leaving without hearing it from both of them. I called for my mother, and when she walked in and saw the will in my hands, her face tightened. She at least looked ashamed. But what she said next made my blood boil. "Sweetheart, you don't need the inheritance. You have a good job. You're independent. Lucas, well, he struggles. We just want to make sure he's taken care of." That was the moment something inside me snapped. They weren't even trying to deny it. They knew exactly what they were doing. They had spent years enabling Lucas's laziness, rewarding him for doing nothing, and they thought I'd just accept it. I set the will down carefully on the table. "Got it," I said, my voice dangerously steady. "Glad to know where we stand." Then I turned and walked out of that house, out of their lives. For the first time in years, I didn't check in. I didn't call. I didn't send money. Let them handle their own damn problems. The silence lasted 2 weeks. At first, I'm sure they thought I was just sulking, that I'd come crawling back like always. But when the days stretched on with no word from me, and more importantly, no financial help, reality finally started to sink in. Then, one afternoon, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Dad. "Dad, the property taxes are due, that was it. No. Hey, how are you? No, we appreciate everything you've done for us, just another demand." I stared at the screen, almost amused at how predictable they were. They really thought they could just summon me like a bank teller. I typed back, "Me. I'm sure Lucas will handle it since the house is his and all." 5 minutes later, my mother called. I let it ring. Then came another text. "Mom, Daniel, please don't be like this. We need to talk." Oh, now they wanted to talk. Now that their bills were piling up and their reality was crumbling around them. I waited an hour before replying. "Me. There's nothing to talk about. You made your choice. Now live with it." That night, Lucas chimed in. Lucas. Dude, stop being dramatic. Just help them like you always do. I nearly laughed. Not a big deal? Not a big deal? I typed back. Me. You mean the money you're inheriting? Why don't you help them? Lucas. Oh my God, grow up. It's just money. Of course. Now that it was his money, it was just money. I shot back. Me. Then you won't mind using some of it to pay the mortgage, right? Silence. The next morning, I woke up to a notification, a bank transfer request from Mom for $3,500. No explanation, no request, just an assumption that I'd comply. I declined it instantly. 5 minutes later, my phone rang. It was her again. I ignored it. Then another text. Mom, Daniel, I know you saw the request. Why did you decline it? I typed back, me, because it's not my responsibility. Try Lucas. And then, the nuclear guilt trip. Mom, we're going to lose the house if you don't help us. I smirked. Me, maybe you should have thought about that before deciding I didn't matter. It escalated from there. More calls, more texts. Then, the unthinkable. They showed up at my apartment. That was their biggest mistake. Because when I opened that door, I made it clear. This time I wasn't backing down, and neither were they. I yanked the door open, and there they were. Mom, Dad, and of course Lucas, standing on my doorstep like they were staging some kind of intervention. Mom had her arms crossed, her classic disappointed mother expression locked and loaded. Dad stood stiff, hands in his pockets like he was here against his will, but still expected me to cave. And Lucas, the entitled little leech, had the audacity to look bored, like my refusal to bankroll his existence was just a mild inconvenience. The second Mom saw me, she dove straight into theatrics. Daniel, finally, we need to talk. I leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. No, you need to leave. She blinked, as if the words didn't compute. Excuse me? You heard me, I said, my voice calm but firm. You don't get to just show up at my apartment demanding money. That's insane. Dad scoffed. Are you really going to let us lose the house over a petty grudge? I let out a sharp, bitter laugh. Oh, you mean the grudge, where you decided I was good enough to pay your bills but not good enough to be in your will? That grudge? Mom gasped, clutching her chest like I just slapped her. Daniel, that's not fair. We only did what we thought was best for the family. I tilted my head. Oh? You mean best for Lucas. Just say it. Silence. A long, heavy silence. Lucas, who had been oddly quiet up until now, finally muttered, Look, man, I didn't ask for this. I didn't ask for anything. I turned to him, the fury I had been holding in finally bubbling over. No, you just sit back and take everything that's handed to you. I took a step forward. You're 28 years old, Lucas. Get a damn job. His face flushed. Dude, what the hell? You heard me, I snapped. You want to inherit the house? Start acting like a homeowner? You want to be the favorite? Start paying their damn bills. I'm done being your personal bank. Lucas looked away, suddenly very interested in the pavement. Mom took a deep breath, clearly recalibrating for a new guilt trip. Daniel, he's your brother. Yep, I cut in, and I've supported him longer than either of you ever have. Dad's face darkened. You're being selfish. I laughed, a real, genuine laugh. Oh, that's rich coming from you. I gestured between them. You two decided Lucas deserved everything, and I deserved nothing. And now that the bills are due, you're begging me to fix it for you. Not happening. Mom's voice sharpened. We thought you'd be mature about this. I raised an eyebrow. Mature? You mean just quietly accepting that I was betrayed and continuing to pay your bills? That's what you really mean, isn't it? Dad took a step forward, trying to loom over me like he used to when I was a kid. We raised you, Daniel. We fed you, clothed you, gave you everything. The least you can do is help us now. I looked him dead in the eye. I already did, for years, and you repaid me by cutting me out. Mom's lip trembled. We thought you'd understand. I exhaled slowly, shaking my head. Oh, I understand perfectly. I understand that I was never family to you. Just a paycheck. Another long, suffocating silence. I turned to Lucas, who was still pretending to be invisible. And you. What's your excuse? You've had years to grow up, to contribute, to do literally anything. But you didn't, because you knew they'd always take care of you. And when they're gone, you expected me to step in, didn't you? Lucas finally snapped. What do you want me to say, man? I didn't ask for this. I nodded. Right. You didn't ask. You just benefited. His mouth opened, then closed. Nothing. He had nothing. Mom tried one last, desperate attempt. Daniel, we're family. Family takes care of each other. I stared at her for a long moment before answering. Exactly. So why didn't you take care of me? She froze. No words, no comeback, nothing. I let out a slow breath, feeling lighter than I had in years. We're done here. I turned and walked back inside, shutting the door behind me. Before I even made it back to my couch, my phone buzzed. A new text from Dad. Dad, wow. After everything we've done for you, you're really going to abandon us? I smirked, typing back. Me? No, you abandoned me. I'm just finally accepting it. Then I blocked their numbers. I thought that would be the end of it. I had finally broken free from their grip, but I underestimated just how far they'd go to control the narrative. The next morning, my social media was flooded with posts. Mom had taken to Facebook, airing out the family drama under the guise of heartfelt disappointment. Her post read, I didn't raise my son to be so selfish. True family takes care of each other, no matter what. It breaks my heart to see what money does to people. The comments poured in, oh honey, I'm so sorry you're going through this. Kids these days have no respect. Daniel should be ashamed. Then Dad chimed in with his own post. So-called family should never turn their backs on you when you need them most. We gave everything to our children, and this is how we're repaid. Some people have no loyalty. And the real kicker? Lucas. He shared a post dripping with false humility. Some people think family is just about money. They don't understand that real love is about sacrifice. I'd do anything for my parents, but not everyone sees it that way. I just wish some people knew what family really meant. So, that was it. That was my breaking point. I sat there staring at the screen, my blood boiling. They had turned me into the villain, the selfish son who refused to support his struggling parents, the ungrateful child who didn't appreciate their sacrifices. They had rewritten history to fit their narrative. I wasn't going to let them get away with it. So I did what they never expected. I told the truth. I opened Facebook, took a deep breath, and started typing. I laid everything out, the years of financial support, the mortgage payments, the will that cut me out completely. I explained how they had used me, discarded me, and then expected me to keep playing my part. I ended with this. This isn't about money. It's about respect. I was good enough to fund their lives, but not good enough to be included in their future. Now that I've stopped being their ATM, I'm suddenly the bad guy. But I won't apologize for finally choosing myself. Then I hit post. The first wave of comments came from people I hadn't even expected to care. Co-workers, distant cousins, even some of my parents' own friends. Wow, Daniel, I had no idea. You did the right thing. Family isn't just about blood. It's about who actually respects you. Dude, this is insane. I remember you always helping them out, and they had the nerve to cut you out of the will? Screw that. I've seen this happen in my own family. You were nothing but a safety net for them. They don't deserve you. My inbox started filling up with private messages. Some were from people who had seen my parents' guilt-tripping posts earlier and now wanted the real story. Others were from relatives who admitted they had always suspected my parents had a clear favorite, but had never realized how bad it was. Then came the messages from family members who had experienced the same thing. Reading this felt like looking in a mirror. My parents treated me the same way. The golden child gets everything, and we're just the ones expected to hold everything together. Good for you for walking away. My dad did the exact same thing, favored my brother, left me out, and then had the nerve to ask for money when things went bad. You're not alone in this. About an hour after I posted, my phone blew up with calls. I ignored them. Then came the predictable counterattack. My parents deleted their Facebook posts. Then, Mom posted a new status. I never thought I'd see the day when my own child would turn against me. Some things should stay private, but I guess respect is too much to ask for these days. My heart is broken. The comments poured in, her loyal supporters rushing in to comfort her. Stay strong, Mama, he'll come around. Kids these days have no sense of duty. Ungrateful children always regret their decisions in the end. But this time, people fought back. Actually, I saw Daniel's post and I think he has every right to be upset. You left him out of your will but still expect him to pay your bills. Wait, so you gave everything to Lucas but still want Daniel's money? Sounds like manipulation to me. Funny how you deleted the first post when the truth came out. One by one, the sympathy comments started disappearing. My parents had underestimated me. They had spent so long controlling the narrative that they assumed I'd never fight back. They were wrong. Lucas, of course, couldn't help but insert himself into the drama. I woke up the next morning to a furious text from him. Lucas, WTF, dude? Did you really have to put all our business online? Me. You mean the same way you all did first? Lucas. That was different. We didn't name names. Me. You didn't have to. Everyone already knew who you were talking about. Lucas. This is so childish. You're just trying to make us look bad. Me. You made yourselves look bad? I just told the truth. And then came the real kicker. Lucas. Mom and Dad are devastated. Just apologize so we can move on. Oh, so now he wanted to move on. I didn't bother replying. After 2 days of silence, I got one final message. This time from Dad. Dad. Enough is enough, Daniel. We're still your parents. We made some mistakes, but you don't turn your back on family. I stared at the message for a long time before replying. Me. Family doesn't turn their back on each other. You did that first. Then I blocked him. The days turned into weeks. My parents stopped trying to contact me. Maybe they finally realized I wasn't budging. Maybe they thought ignoring me would make me come crawling back. Either way, I didn't care. But the best part? Lucas finally got a job. It wasn't anything impressive, just a part-time gig at some office. But the fact that he was actually working for the first time in years, that told me everything I needed to know. They had finally been forced to fend for themselves. And I was free. Do you think I was right to cut them off, or should I have handled things differently? Let me know your thoughts in the comments.